contact Northwest Plastic Surgery Associates, nwpsa.com, or call 728-3811.
Here's to you, the intrepid explorers, driven doers, and off-road adrenaline addicts. Thanks for making Polaris America's best-selling off-road brand. It's time to celebrate with great deals on the world's biggest and best off-road lineup. Live life wide open in a high-performance RZR. Tackle anything from mountains to mud holes on a legendary Sportsman ATV. Get more done with a hard-working Ranger, or elevate your adventure in a versatile Polaris General. Now's the time to find your perfect ride. With financing as low as 3.99% APR for 36 months and savings up to $3,500 during the Polaris New Year's sales event at Kurtz Polaris, 2904 West Broadway in Missoula and Highway 83 in Sealy. The mountains are full of snow, and Kurtz has all the best machines, apparel, and accessories to take full advantage of the season. Online at KurtzPolaris.com, the most fun you can have in snow. Kurtz Polaris, winter awaits. Offers valid in U.S. through 2/29/20 on new 2016 through 2020 vehicles. Subject to credit approval. Offers vary by model. See dealer for details. Always wear a helmet. Never drink and ride.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. It's 4 o'clock. Welcome to Tutela Nuanez, Montana's only statewide sports talk show. Touchdown! Broadcast on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Western Montana and across the state on SWX Television.
I like football!
Now, sports talk from Montana for Montana. Live from the Kurtz Polaris studio, here is Ryan Tutel and Colter Nuanez.
Hello, Montana. Grizzlies, Weber State tomorrow night. We'll hear some sound on that game. Coaches and players. We got some giveaways today. In fact, a whole bunch of them, including tickets to Korn. And how about our ESPN Roundtable with Tyler Emmett, a new inductee into the high school, MHSA High School Hall of Fame. It is Tutela Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Hi, how are you? Great to be with you across the great state on this Wednesday afternoon. Hope you are having a fantastic day. Thanks for spending some of it with us on your radios, on your TVs, and perhaps on your internets. 1029ESPN.com, where you want to go. You can listen live on the stream. Stream available all the time. It is there on the Listen Live tab. Thanks to Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. If you'd like to pick up your phone and call, you can do that as well. 329-1899, 329-1899, that phone number. All guests join us via the Regish Brothers RV phone line. Let's take a look at what we got in today's show. Plenty to get to. We're going to start talking primarily about the Grizzly-Weber State game tomorrow night, which is a big game in the conference. The surging Weber State Wildcats, who are already up 1-0 on the Grizzlies in this men's basketball season, will be in Missoula tomorrow night for what's always a huge game when Weber State comes to town for the Wildcats and the Grizzlies to play some ball. So we will get into that. We will also give away to you today some Desperado hot wings, teriyaki wings, mild wings, however you want it. Well, sissy wings as they are down at Desperado. We got trivia for you, and we will get those set up for you. We also are going to have our ESPN Roundtable today. Looking for this at the top of the hour. Tyler Emmert, former Carroll College and Helena Capital quarterback. Is this for 80-3, 70-3?
80-3.
80-3. I mean, that's not even possible. He's 80-3 as a starting quarterback through his high school and college career. Count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all of them. National championships at Carroll College, boys and girls. So looking forward to having Tyler on. We're working to confirm him being in here. So we get to all that. Also, this is a huge day of giveaways. We got Dobie's Teriyaki we're going to give away to you. We are going to give you $50 for Friday. What's Friday? It's Valentine's Day, people. Yes, you're welcome for the reminder, okay? I know we all need a little help on that sometimes. Friday, Valentine's Day, we got $50 to Kindred Skin and Soul, a very nice gift card to go down there to the salon down on Front Street. Beautiful spot near Front and Higgins, next to El Cazador right there on Front Street. Go down there, take your significant other. She will be very, very happy with you. And heck, man, if you want to use it yourself, fellas, if you're out there, you want to go ahead. Coulter and I went. We had a great time. So we'll give that away today, $50 to Kindred Skin and Soul, so you can have it for Valentine's Day. And also, today is the first day of the giveaway for Korn. Korn and Breaking Benjamin, February 23rd. That's next Sunday at the Adams Center. They're coming to town, and looking forward to this show very much. We got a pair of tickets that we will give away in this show. We got a bunch of tickets to give away over the next end of this week and through next week. So we will start with that today. You want to go see some of the originators of nu metal, however you want to talk about it. There's not really a lot of bands that have ever done or do what Korn has done. So they're kind of just by themselves when you talk about genres and so forth. But they will be here, and we will get you to that show as well. So there you go. There's a look at what we got in the show today. Coulter, how you doing over there? You pumped up about this Korn show?
Oh, I absolutely am.
Yeah, we will talk more about that. We'll spend a little time talking about the show, about the band here in this one. If you're for those rock stars out there, this is the show for you, okay? Let's talk a little Big Sky basketball, though, shall we? The Grizzlies versus Weber. What are you laughing about already?
I'm just looking at the outline because, we prepare so well for this show that it's just a surprise every time.
The show is prepared. Whether or not you've taken the time to glance at it is the other thing.
Yeah, I'm saying this in pure jest.
Coulter, Weber State I think they were 2-6 going into the game against the Montana Grizzlies. They just experienced a devastating loss to Montana State. Not so much losing to Montana State. Montana State, is a team that when they're playing well is a very good team. But the way that they lost that game, where it looked like they had it signed, sealed, and delivered to get a win that they needed, that being Weber State in Ogden when they were 2-5. Things weren't going well. They had finally kind of taken control, and then Harold Frey does what he does, and they're able to find a way to squeak out a 1-point victory, Montana State. And it just looks like the whole thing might just be going sideways on Randy Ray and Weber State, which never happens. I mean, it just does not happen in Ogden, Utah.
But it went sideways at the end of last year, and that's why it was concerning.
Yeah, right. And it kind of
they lost 6 out of 8. They lost 6 out of 8 down the stretch coming into the tournament. They finished 11-9, which for a lot of teams in the Big Sky Conference would be a great record. And for Weber State was their worst conference finish since the year that Jeremy Sanglin broke his jaw and they finished 8th. So,
but this is my point. I mean, they went 11-9, and it was a very down year by Weber State standards. So at 2-5 going and then becoming 2-6, you go, oh my goodness.
That's why it was concerning, though, I think, for everybody involved, because I think internally people knew Weber State was struggling because they had such a variety of injuries. They couldn't find any sort of continuity in terms of practicing together, playing together.
Yeah.
Because when some guys would be back, other guys wouldn't. Jarek Harding being hurt itself hurts you so much, but basketball is so delicate. It's not only who you're missing, but the guys that are available need to know how to play with each other. And when Cam Davis is in and out of the lineup because of this dislocated knee thing, his kneecap keeps dislocating, you never really know his status.
Well, the transfer forward never even sees the floor, who's going to be presumably your number 3 guy.
And you're playing 3 freshmen in your rotation. You don't really know how to find that rotation. So internally, I don't think there was as much panic because I think they knew what the reason was. But externally, then you start speculating, well, these guys lost 6 out of 8 down the stretch. These guys got destroyed by Montana in the tournament.
Yeah.
Now they're off to a bad start. So now you're talking about over their last Big Sky Conference season, basically you take the second half of last year and the first half of this year, and these guys are like 4-16. So then you're thinking, oh, man, what's going on with Weber? But now Jarek Harding's healthy. Cam Davis has figured out a way to at least mitigate the knee thing, and he's been in the rotation, and that gives them 2 huge shots in the arm, and now they're the most, in my opinion, they're the most dangerous team in the league in terms of maybe being better than what their record is at this exact moment.
No doubt. And, to go back to what happened, then Montana goes in there, who's the number 1 team in the Big Sky Conference, playing a 2-6 Weber State team, and Weber State manages to force overtime and hold on and get a win. And I'm not going to say that game was the catalyst for this team because they've now won 4 of their last 5 starting with that win for Weber State, and they went from being 2-6 to now 6-7, and they are a game out, basically, maybe a game and a half out of having a seed in this tournament, out of having a bye in Boise. I'm not going to say that win catapulted them to something. I think it's a lot more about getting healthy and then getting minutes and experience for their guys. But they did need a breakthrough, and they got it. And I think that they played. I do think that winning against the best team in the conference, at least by record in Montana, was a confidence boost that this team needed because they kept knocking on the door. They were like Idaho. Idaho and Weber State had the same record at this time. And Weber State finally found a way to break through against a good team, and Idaho never did. Like, you wonder what would happen if Idaho had found a way to win even just one game against one of the top two teams in the Big Sky, and what that might do for your psyche, where you finally, okay, we can do this. We are as good as these other teams. He's close, and Weber has found that way. But also, you look at the talent, and that's the other thing. This isn't just a plucky team that kind of figured it out. You're talking about a guy who I said yesterday, and I stand by this, is as of right now, he's my Big Sky Conference MVP in Jarek Harding right now, the way he's going, the way he's carrying this team. And Cody John, who is, any team would be thrilled if Cody John was your definitive number 2 guy on the team. Cody John is as good as the best player on many teams in the Big Sky Conference, playing as the Robin to Jarek Harding's Batman at Weber. So, their 1-2 punch is as good as it gets in this conference. And so that also makes the other pieces, the guys who aren't there, the freshmen that are trying to figure it out on the fly and all that kind of stuff, you can buoy the ship pretty nicely when you got those 2 guys going for you.
And regardless of if Jarek Harding's going to be the MVP or not, Jarek Harding's the best scorer in the league. Would you agree with that? I think he's leading the league.
No question about that.
The numbers are back it up. The guy, his game last week, he hit 44 points on 21 shots.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
He went 14 of 21 from the floor. He's 5 of 10 from 3. So you do the math. That means he was what? What was he from 2? If he was 5 of 10 from 3, he missed 5 of his shots, and he missed 7 overall shots. So that means he was 9 of 11 from 2, and he was 11 of 11 from the free throw line. That's straight filling it up.
Here's the thing. I'm going to say something that's going to make a lot of people in Western Montana, who follow this stuff, mad at me, and that's okay. But he's a better fit. He's the best finisher around the rim of anybody in the Big Sky Conference. I think clearly the only other person in that conversation is Saeed Pritchett, who I think is as dazzling and natural and instinctive around the hoop as anybody I've ever seen. But he also has the advantage of being a foot taller than Jarek Harding. It's not actual foot, right? He's like 8 inches taller. But Jarek Harding, the degree of difficulty that he is presented with around the rim is inconscionable, and what he's able to do anyway. That's why I think he's just so impressive.
Pritchett's so good at leaning with his body and doing scoop shots and stuff, using the glass.
And using the second and third pivot. He's unbelievable, yes.
But he's almost always squared to the basket. That's the thing that's ridiculous about Harding. I've never actually seen anybody. You want to know who my NBA comp for Jarek Harding is?
Sir.
Goran Dragic. And do you remember Goran Dragic's little 3-year peak when he was with the Suns and then his first year at the Heat?
Yeah.
He was third-team All-NBA once, which is amazing for a guy that doesn't get nearly enough fanfare, in my opinion. But Dragic, he's got such a great first step. He's got such good stutter in the way that he drives to the basket. But it's when he's going full speed and he goes all the way underneath the basket and just throws the ball behind his head and it goes off the glass or it goes into the hoop. Kyrie Irving is so good at from the ankles and from all over the place. The Uncle Drew, the old school scoop stuff.
Right.
But as far
buckets,
as the reverse layup is such a lost art. Driving the baseline and getting to the other side and using the glass behind your head. Jarek Harding is ridiculous when it comes to that shot. That's the thing that makes him so hard to defend, is now that he has learned how to make threes, if he's making threes in that game, you have to defend it. Yep. If you close out on him hard, it's over. So he's getting to the hole.
The fastest first step in the Big Sky Conference, and no ifs, ands, or buts. By the way, just as an aside, Tutel Nuanez 102.9 ESPN Radio. Goran Dragic, for sure, should be the name of one of the pet dragons in How to Train a Dragon. That's too good to be an actual real name. That's got to be made up. Yes, go ahead.
Just some statistical affirmation here for Jarek Harding. Right now he's playing 37.2 minutes per game in Big Sky play since he came back from that ankle injury. He's 108 for 218 from the field, so he's shooting 49.8%. You got to remember, this guy's a 5'10" guard.
That's right.
This is not some center.
5'10", I'll take the under all day long.
And they list him at 6 feet too. If you've ever interviewed him, he's way shorter than I am, and I'm just shy of 6'1". He's short. Yeah. He's definitely short, but shooting 33.7% from 3, which for a guy with his first step is a phenomenal number. But then here's where he's really taking the next step. He's shooting 91% from the free throw line. So his efficiency is phenomenal across the board. He's averaging 24.6 points per game in Big Sky Conference play, which is by far the top total in the league, averaging 22.8 points per game overall.
And how many times is he getting to the line? I mean, because this is a guy who...
Well, 55 free throw attempts in 12 conference games, but some of those games were a lot less.
Yeah, I mean, he was getting
a lot less minutes.
He's gotten to the line. He's getting there into the teens of times in a couple individual games.
He's getting there 10 or 12 times over the last 4 games, since he's been healthy. The game before the Grizz game in Ogden was the first game that he was really healthy. Mm-hmm. He's quote-unquote played in 12 of their 13 Big Sky games, but as far as when he's 100%, it's only been about 6 or 7 that he's been 100%.
And this is the thing, go back a little bit here, but Steve Kerr, right, one of the great, any type of shooter we've ever seen in the NBA, but certainly he's just a never-going-to-miss type of guy from the free throw line. But he almost never went to the free throw line because he's just a spot-up shooter who isn't driving the lane. Jarek Harding could get to the line, sometimes at will because he's so quick with it, so good in the paint, and forces the issue. And so he gets to the line all the time. So then to be 91%, that's a weapon, man. That's an absolute weapon. By the way, we talked with Coach Travis DeCure yesterday before practice. Asked him about this very thing. Montana, the game in Weber. Weber got that win. They've gone on to win 4 of the last 5. So the question is simply, what helped them turn the corner to go on this run where they're back in the mix in the Big Sky Conference?
Well, it's the same 3 guys scoring the ball, and those guys have been healthy all year. I think the big thing for them is they've gotten a little better defensively, and I think that they have more confidence. And sometimes success here and there adds to confidence, and they've won the right games that have kind of led to that, and now all of a sudden they're dangerous.
It's so interesting when Coach DeCure talks about confidence, and I'll relate that maybe to something I said just about they got the breakthrough. They got the breakthrough against Montana, and now all of a sudden you as a group believe you can do it. It's interesting, Colter, to me. I was thinking about this. I'd like to talk to somebody who's in the sport about this a little bit. But if you talk to just about any one of these individual players, confidence is not an issue. Right? You don't need to worry about whether or not anybody on any of these teams thinks they're pretty good at basketball. They all know they're good at basketball and then some. But it's still an odd...
Confident. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
They all know they could go dominate the intramural league. Well, I think there's a distinct difference, though, between confidence and confidence in your role. Because if you're living in a state of delusion... if you think you're really good, but you actually aren't really good at what your role is on the team, that's where I think you really struggle. And we've seen that some of the middle to bottom half of the league teams in the Big Sky. When you got a dude who knows he's talented and is talented, but isn't doing what you need him to do, but then he's saying, "Oh, you're just being a hater. You're not recognizing my talent." That's toxic.
Exactly. And it's not maybe confidence in the role, but acceptance of whatever that role is because the belief is that they're maybe better than what the role they've been given is or whatever. But I guess it's interesting that a team can sort of lack confidence even though it's comprised of a group of people who are utterly confident, almost across the board. You don't make it to Division I basketball by playing with some sort of timidity or fear. And those guys get weeded out in a hurry, okay? It just doesn't really happen. And so, that's and it's real. I buy all of this, both of these things, and it's interesting that they happen concurrently, and certainly maybe did for Weber State, and maybe that's part of being young. We'll hear from Josh Vasquez tomorrow, and he was asked about what was your welcome to the Big Sky moment. He's like, I knew I could play here. I knew I was good enough to play here. I don't care that I started 1-19. I knew I was going to get it going. Also, I didn't really realize how physical it was going to be. Right. I wasn't really prepared for getting a shoulder put into my chest and taken for a walk down the lane. And that is, that doesn't change anything about what you think you're capable of as a basketball player, but there is an adjustment of playing Division I basketball, period. And Weber State, much like Montana, this is true, right? These two teams have the most number of freshmen playing major minutes for their clubs, right? Is there anybody else who's got this many freshmen going for them? I don't think so.
Dave Spriggle's played a couple freshmen. It's a good question.
There's a lot of transfers, though.
There's a lot of transfers. Idaho is new, but they're not young.
That's right.
Portland State is new, but they're not young. Southern Utah is not really as new as they usually have been.
If you're looking for freshmen, I think these are the two youngest teams, at least in that respect.
It's true. your theory there is very an interesting one too, because I do think that individual confidence, team confidence, and the confidence in your teammates are three distinctly different things. And I agree with your premise that most of these guys have great individual confidence. I think that the one spot where you see guys that don't have that much confidence in themselves a lot of times is the young big guys, because a lot of times if you are that 6'9", 6'10" guy that came to the Big Sky, it's because you're lacking something or that you are a developmental player. I mean, we've seen it at Montana the last couple of years. I mean, the biggest issue that Kelby Kramer had before he left the University of Montana was just his confidence in himself, right? Mac Anderson's turned a huge corner the last 3 weeks because of his renewed confidence in himself. It's just the simple things, catching the ball and dunking it. I mean, it was a struggle for Mac Anderson for a little while last year and early this year. Now he's really turned the corner. But the collective confidence of the team, I think that anybody that's ever played on a basketball team, it's not about how good guys are. It's about how well you fit together in terms of your roles. And so Kendall Manuel's shooting, he's gone through 2 different shooting slumps and then come back out with 2 different shooting scorching hot streaks, right? On teams that don't get along, the shooting slumps, all of a sudden now, when you're the other guys, you're like, bro, stop shooting it. Right. Bro, you can't hit a shot. Give the ball up. Whereas this team, in the Eastern Washington game, Saeed Pridgett told Travis DeCuire, call a timeout and run a play for Kendall. And then he did. He comes off a screen, he strokes a 3 and gets fouled. And at that moment, it was his second made shot in 9 field goal attempts, and he finished the game with 18 points, filled it up the rest of the game. That's where the confidence in each other, that's where it really breaks through.
Yeah.
Your point about, like, what if Idaho would have won a couple of those games? I think that we were sitting there touting the stat. When Idaho was 1-5, they had lost their 5 games by a combined total of 13 points. No league loss by more than 4. Well, now since then, they've lost, I think, 4 times in the last 6 games by more than 10,
double digits,
including getting blown out twice. You're never going to find the 2-18 team that lost every game by 4 points.
Yeah.
Because after you lose 6 of them, you're
That's
just
right.
like, all right.
That's right.
We're not doing this anymore. What's the point in fighting?
And the other thing, just comparison-wise to Weber State from early on, because they did have the same record at the bottom of the conference.
Right.
Weber State's just better. I mean, they got more talent than Idaho does. Let's hear from Saeed Pridgett. He was also asked essentially the same question. What's Weber State doing well right now, particularly coming out of having already played them one time?
This game it means a lot. It's been us playing Weber has been a big game in the past. So just knowing that, like I said, even when Dame and Will was here, the game was big. So just knowing that we got to bring our big boy shoes and be ready for it.
Yeah. So sorry, that's more about why is this game? What's important about this matchup here in the middle of it? He's talking about, look, man, the history between these two teams. Forget about it. I mean, it goes all the way back to Damian Lillard and Will Cherry going heads up, for conference championships, for tournament championships. Travis DeCuire was also asked about Randy Ray, and just Randy Ray as a coach. He's the longest tenured coach in the Big Sky Conference on the men's side of things, and these guys have matched up now for a lot of years together in some big games and some meaningful games in 2 of the most historic programs in the conference. And so the question is, aside from personnel in a given season, what makes Randy Ray's teams good year in and year out?
Win. At the end of the day, when you think Randy Ray, Big Sky basketball, win, right? But his teams have always been tough. They've always been confident, and they've always been prepared, which, him coming from the coaching tree, you would expect nothing different.
There you go. Again, he cites their teams that play with confidence. You know what I mean? And is there a difference to you, Colter, between playing free and loose and playing confident?
There is a difference. I think that it's also about the style of your program.
Yeah.
I think that Travis DeCuire's teams are often never going to play free. He's an incredibly structured coach. Travis, some people might say it's a weakness, but to me it just is what it is. It's who he is as a coach. Some people might say that they could have been better the last couple of years if they would have played free and got out and run. But the style that he implements into his players and just the way he coaches, it's just caters to having massive amounts of structure. Discipline is one of the number one tenets of their entire program, on and off the court.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to delineate from that, because I think that is what sets them apart. That's why they're the one team in the league that plays their butts off 20 games out of 20 games in the Big Sky. But then a team like Eastern Washington, free-flowing equals confidence. When they're playing tight and structured, they're not good.
Yeah.
They need to be playing free-flowing. So I think it's all about the identity of your team.
if I could make just like a boxing analogy here for Travis DeCuire, I think he has believed more or less that in basically every game that he's been in the Big Sky Conference the last number of years, that his team has been the more talented team, has been the better team, just man for man. And so when he's managing the team and going out trying to figure out a way to win, if you're a boxer and you're a heavyweight or whatever that's just better than the other guy, all you have to do is be smart about how you go about it. Now, you could go in and just let the leather fly and go toe-to-toe, and you'll probably win in spectacular fashion 9 times out of 10. But there's 1 in 10 where you catch it wrong and you're laying on the canvas because you just went out and try to put on a show. Whereas if you just do the thing that you need to do to get to a unanimous decision after 12 rounds every single time, you're going to win every single time, regardless of whether sometimes it's by knockout, sometimes it's by decision, whatever it is. And I think that Travis DeCuire manages basketball games in that same light, knowing that if we do what we do, we will win this basketball game. We're the better team. And I don't need to get out here and try and figure out ways to just, make it look sweet or do things that are outside of our DNA or open it up. And obviously every game plan, I mean, there's plenty of games that they've been wide open. I mean, they scored 109 points for crying out loud. Wasn't that what it was against North Dakota, buck 9? I mean, so they've played plenty fast and plenty free at various times, but I think that Coach DeCuire recognizes that if he just goes in and lets his guys play within the scope of a plan for that game according to that plan, they're going to win the game, with the highest percentage in the history of the program. How's that? So that's pretty good. And so it's pretty tough to argue and say, but also playing free, not just with the inside or outside the structure of called plays or whatever, but without the tentativeness of it. That's what I say, playing with confidence and playing free are sort of the same thing, where you go, you're not scared to take any shot. You're not scared to do the thing that you need to do, worried about, okay, well, maybe I'm going to get yanked. Maybe I'm going to get yelled at or whatever. You probably will get yelled at some point. Certainly you're going to get yelled at some point. That's the way it goes. But I think engendering confidence while also implementing your will as a coach is sort of an interesting line to walk.
That's why I find this Grizz team fascinating in a lot of ways. And a lot of people might think this is sacrilegious to say because the last 2 Grizz teams have been so epically talented, at least within the scope of the history of the program, that I find this team a lot more fun to cover and analyze.
Yeah, I mean,
Coach DeCuire, here's the thing that I would say. Coach DeCuire yells at these guys a lot less.
Yeah.
Because they follow instructions a lot better.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe there's not the history of relationship in some cases too, but
that's true. Yeah, that's true. And also, and as Bobby Moorhead said when he was in with us last Friday, you can check it out on 1029ESPN.com, the podcast, as well as Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts around the web. Like Moorhead said, DeCuire's going to challenge you to your face, and then once he realizes you're going to go back at him, then all of a sudden you've reached a new level of communication with him, and then once you stop taking it personal, he's always going to challenge you. And so then, I mean, I always look at this picture that we have right behind you of the last 2 years ago's Grizz team with Fabian Krislovic as a senior and then all those other guys as juniors. And, I mean, Coach DeCuire used to yell at Michael Ogine and Jamar Coe just to straight up get them going, right? Like, it wasn't even that Michael Ogine wasn't following instructions or anything. He's just trying to get Mike to go crazy, and oftentimes he would.
Yeah.
Or, say, Jamar, you're in foul trouble. Stop screwing around. Get back in there. Give me 8 straight. And Jamar would, drop, step, dunk over and over again. And so a lot of it was tactical to challenge guys. But
gotta go.
I mean, think about how much less he's yelled at Timmy Falls this year. Think about how much less he's yelled at this group of freshmen than all the freshmen he's had the last couple of years. And I think it's because these guys are doing a really good job. I think that they sometimes forget what gives them success, and that's his biggest point of contention. But
and maybe there's a little off-season self-scout there for the head coach too.
Totally. But I do think that if you were to get him to tell you the absolute truth, he's loving coaching this team.
I think so. It's Tutel Nuanez, 1029 ESPN Radio. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll do some trivia with you. Right now, let's give away a little bit of teriyaki to the people. 329-1899. Call right now. We got $15 to Dobie's Teriyaki downtown. Proper Seattle style teriyaki and rice bowls. Steak and onion in there if you want it. veggies, the whole deal. You go down there, you get it's a great deal. Right downtown in Stockman's Bar, Dobie's Teriyaki, 329-1899, $15 right now from us. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll do some trivia with you. Coulter's got some questions on a Wing It Wednesday. We'll get you some wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern.
Grizz Weber State questions. Call us 329-1899.
All right. We'll get all that right now.
Romance your Valentine at the Montana Club with our 4-course Lover's Delight for 2, featuring Parmesan-crusted artichoke hearts, succulent king crab legs, perfectly grilled Angus steaks, and a grilled lobster tail, followed by our luscious vanilla bean cake with fresh raspberries. Just one of the mouth-watering options to be savored on our special Valentine menu, served February 13th through the 16th at the Montana Club. See the full menu at montanaclub.com on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Hey, it's Coulter, and I'm here with Catherine from The Advocates. If you've been in a car accident or need help dealing with the insurance companies, you should give The Advocates a call. They can tell you if you have a case right over the phone.
That's right. It doesn't cost anything to call, and we'd be happy to talk to you and assess your situation. You don't want to have to deal with contacting the insurance companies and setting up a claim. We can do that for you. We take the hassle out of the process, so you can just focus on getting better.
There you go, folks. If you've been injured in an accident, give The Advocates a call, 406-640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. You deserve The Advocates.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Hey folks, Grizz Greats, the Coaching Tree podcast has been a wonderful podcast series that we're happy to have been a part of, and it reaches its halfway point now. Episode 5 with Don Holst, available wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Grizz Greats in your favorite podcasting platform, and it will be there for you. And Coulter, our conversation with Don Holst, an intriguing and memorable one.
Every single one of these episodes has been entertaining, historical, funny, informative, but this one was the most revelatory. Don Holst talks in detail about his 4 years as the head coach of the University of Montana, his trip to the NCAA tournament in his final season, and his subsequent dismissal following that trip to the Big Dance. Fascinating to hear Don Holst's take on how it all went down about 20 years ago.
The Grizz Greats podcast series is brought to us by Blackfoot Communications, the company that connects you more. Mike Nugent and the Bryan team at Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate and Stockman's Bar on Front Street downtown, proud supporters of Montana basketball for more than 50 years.
Gus, remember how scared you were to get a facial before you had one at Kindred Skin and Soul?
I'd had one before in Southeast Asia and didn't realize it was going to feel like getting hit in the face with a bat.
The experience downtown, though, was much better, right?
It didn't scar me emotionally or physically. It was pleasant and wonderful in every way.
Valentine's Day is coming up, gents, and we know you have not gotten your lady a present, so tune in to Tutel Nuanez over the next 2 weeks for your chance to win a $50 gift card at Kindred Skin and Soul, downtown Missoula.
Tutel Nuanez, 4 to 6 every weekday, ESPN Radio.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Shakeups this week in the prep basketball polls on the girls' side with the state tournaments fast approaching while the boys' hierarchy continues to be set in stone. Hi, Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez. Here's some sports news for you. 3-time defending Class AA state champion Helena High has had ups and downs in girls' hoops. The 6-7 Bengals posted a pivotal 38-37 win over number 2 Missoula Hellgate last week to move to number 5 in this week's prep basketball poll conducted by 406mtsports.com. Hellgate, though, in turn, bounced back from that loss by handing Helena Capital, the top-ranked team in the state, its first loss of the season. Because of Helena's win over Hellgate, and Capital remained number 1 in this week's poll, while Hellgate remained number 2. The number 5 Bengals host number 3 Missoula Sentinel Thursday, while Capital takes on Sentinel in Missoula Saturday. Billings West is the 4th ranked team in this week's poll, and in Class B, the Loyola Sacred Heart Breakers remain atop the standings with a perfect 16-0 record.
Hellgate boys remain atop the boys poll with their perfect 13-0 record. The Knights have been untouchable behind the stellar play of Utah State signee Riley Wooster. The rest of the Class AA rankings include Billings West at number 2, Helena Capital at 3rd, Missoula Sentinel 4th, Billings Skyview 5th. Capital plays at Sentinel Saturday, while Skyview plays at West Thursday.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Aspen Sound.
It's time for a Wing It Wednesday, and we kind of messed it up. We asked for 2 calls at once. So, Pat, congratulations to Pat. He got Dobie's Teriyaki. But if you'd like to get in here and get yourself some wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern, the best wings in the city of Missoula, give us a call right now, 329-1899. 329-1899, the phone number, and you can get yourself some trivia questions from Coulter here and head over to the Desperado for, the best wings in the city. Wanted to just update people for folks in Western Montana and in Missoula. It has been a day of sort of high alert around the city. There was an active shooter situation earlier on today. Evidently, a police cruiser had its back window shot out while on patrol. That is according to the Missoula Police Department in their press release. Nobody was hurt or injured, thankfully, in this circumstance, but a perimeter and a lockdown situation has been in effect downtown Missoula, City Hall, St. Patrick's Hospital throughout most of this day. But as of 3:15 this afternoon, that has all been lifted. So, again, whatever resolution needed to happen has happened. And for those of you who maybe have not heard about what was going on but haven't heard since, we did want to pass along that update to let people know, that the city of Missoula, downtown, everything is back to normal, and you can travel where you would like to, go in and out of whatever buildings you would like to, and so forth and so on at will. So, obviously, a scary situation. Thankful that there was no injuries or worse resulting from whatever happened down there today. And I'm sure we'll hear more of it in the coming hours tonight and tomorrow and so on and so forth. But in terms of your day-to-day or hour-to-hour movements around the city, what you're going to do tonight, you don't need to have that in too much consideration any longer, so that is good. 329-1899, the phone number. Coulter, we're going to do some trivia with the people here. You want to get some wings to the Desperado, give us a call, 329-1899. What do you have? You have Grizz versus
Grizz Weber State questions. So these are just about sort of the recent rivalry between
basketball?
All basketball, yep.
Okay.
All basketball, yep.
Have you you were at the Will Cherry, Damian Lillard game?
The second one I actually was not.
Oh, okay.
I was at Torrey Pines in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's a Grizz sports bar. About a $60.
So it's like
not Torrey Pines, the golf course.
Not San Diego.
No, not Torrey Pines, the golf course. Torrey Pines, the Grizz sports bar. It's about a $60 cab ride from the Strip. But if you can ever go watch a Grizz event that's happening live at this place, it's like walking into Missoula. You have all sorts of Grizz memorabilia.
Oh, interesting.
So I was there for my brother's 21st birthday, and we threw down $100 each on the Grizz to beat Weber. I think the Grizz were like 6.5, maybe 7-point dogs because Weber had Lillard and Will Cherry.
And $100, by the way, at that time for you was like $1 million.
Well, this was actually when I was a young professional.
Right. You were working for your brother more.
I was working at the Ellensburg Daily Record, so I, I was making about $18,000 a year. I was rich. This is actually the richest time of my life this last decade, until the last year. No, but my brother is the same grade as Will Cherry. Mm-hmm. And so when my brother was playing Grizz football, Will was playing Grizz hoops, and so they were in the athletic department. They're friends. They're buddies. And so when Will was...
So you're admitting your brother committed NCAA violations betting on NCAA games?
No, Graf. I'm not, because he was not playing for the Grizz anymore at that time.
That's right.
Their paths crossed. My brother had to retire before this game occurred.
Before his 21st birthday.
Yep.
Plus statute of limitations.
Right. Plus, who cares? Break every NCAA rule. I mean, break every NCAA rule for all I care. I mean, the moment that they called my family up and said we were offering illegal benefits for cooking steak dinners for Grizz football players, that's a whole different. They're harassing Missoula moms that were feeding kids. Like, get out of here. Just go to hell. Regardless. When Will Cherry's slapping the floor and shutting down Lillard, and I mean, Lillard's got steam coming out of his ears. He's so mad.
Yeah.
is awesome. It was one of the great viewing experiences I've had in my life.
Very good.
And then we won the bet, too, so we could afford the cab ride home.
Hey, what a deal. You could get back to the hotel. That's a good way to go about it, no doubt. It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Okay, we're going to circle back to the...
If you're scared, call us now, because I'm hearing that people might be scared about my questions because they're sometimes too hard. These are the easiest questions I've asked on this show.
Okay. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. 329-1899 if you want to do a Wing It Wednesday. Also, we're going to be giving away Korn tickets. Looking forward to that show very much. We'll talk about all of this next.
In Western Montana, we know shopping local matters, and you may think you'd pay more for the quality and customer service that comes with it, but not at Selway Armory. Selway Armory is locally owned with knowledgeable specialists that can answer your questions. In addition to the expertise, though, Selway Armory also has a bigger selection and lower prices than the box stores. When you're in the market for firearms and accessories, save money with the experts at Selway Armory. Selway Armory, 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6, and online at selwayarmory.com.
There's a saying, opportunity never knocks twice. When you're ready to take advantage of your next opportunity, look to your local bank. Opportunity Bank of Montana. Opportunity Bank offers options for mortgage loans, small business loans, equipment financing, agriculture, and more. Our experienced team can provide solutions to help you welcome your next big opportunity. There's nothing like the feeling of progress. So let's get started today. Come see us at your local Opportunity Bank of Montana. OpportunityBank.com, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Have you been in an accident and have no idea what to do? I'm here with Catherine from the Advocates Injury Attorneys.
Unfortunately, people are injured in accidents every day, and dealing with the insurance company can add even more pain to an already bad situation. That is where hiring the advocates can help. Let us guide you through the process and take on the hassles for you so you can just focus on getting better.
If you've been injured in an accident, give the Advocates a call, 406-640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. The Advocates are on your side. Ryan, do you remember TRL?
Total Request Live. Wouldn't miss it.
Do you remember the moment in American history where it shifted, that heavy metal became pop music?
Yes, I do. I was on the forefront of that choice.
As was Korn. And guess what? 20 years later, Korn is coming to Missoula.
The thing I like about Korn is that it's not merely nostalgia. They've reinvented themselves time and again, have just put out yet another new record. Prolific band, and managed to maintain relevance over multiple decades, which most cannot say.
You and I will both be attending the Korn concert, and we're going to hook up a bunch of you as well. Tune in to Tutel Nuanez, 4 to 6 every single weekday for your chance to win a pair of tickets to Korn at the Adams Center on Sunday, February 23rd. Gus, remember how scared you were to get a facial before you had one at Kindred Skin and Soul?
I'd had one before in Southeast Asia and didn't realize it was going to feel like getting hit in the face with a bat.
The experience downtown, though, was much better, right?
It didn't scar me emotionally or physically. It was pleasant and wonderful in every way.
Valentine's Day is coming up, gents, and we know you have not gotten your lady a present, so tune in to Tutel Nuanez over the next 2 weeks for your chance to win a $50 gift card at Kindred Skin and Soul, downtown Missoula.
Tutel Nuanez, 4 to 6 every weekday, ESPN Radio.
Tutel and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Welcome back, boys and girls. Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. That's WX Montana Television. Time for a little Wing It Wednesday. By the way, if you're looking for us on social media, at Gus Tutel, at Skyline Sports MT, and at 102.9 ESPN. Those are your relevant handles. We go now to the phones. We welcome in Tim to the show. Tim, congratulations. You made it in for a little trivia. How are you?
Good.
Well, I'm glad to hear this, Tim. Now, are you a Montana and or Weber State basketball fan?
I'm a Montana Grizzly fan, yeah, definitely.
Okay, good.
Basketball fan.
So that's good. That should bode well for you because those are the questions Coulter's got topically since the Grizzlies are hosting Weber State tomorrow in Missoula. So here's the deal. 3 questions for you. If you get 2 of them right, you got yourself a basket of wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern, the finest wings in the city of Missoula. I'm a sweet teriyaki guy. I'm just offering that unsolicited a piece of advice from me to you, okay, Tim? If you go down there, you check those out. If you get all 3, you get a shirt. If you need help on any of these, I am your lifeline, all right?
Okay.
Boy, some chicken wings would really hit the spot.
Tell me likey. Tell me want wingy.
All right, Tim, here we go. Coulter, question number 1.
All right, Tim, number 1. We're going to give you a softball to get you rolling here a little bit. Who won the last matchup between Montana and Weber State?
Weber State did.
Weber State did.
That is absolutely right.
87-85 in overtime in Ogden, Utah. You are correct. 1 for 1, 1 down, 2 to go, 1 lifeline in the bag, and just 1 more to get some wings. Number 2, Weber State and Montana have the 2 most tournament appearances, NCAA tournament appearances among any teams in the Big Sky Conference. Who has more, Montana or Weber State?
Let's see. I think I will take my lifeline here.
Okay, I don't know the answer for this 100%, but I would be very surprised if it's not Montana. I mean, Montana has gone. How far back are we going, Coulter, here on this?
It goes all the way to the beginning of the Big Sky Conference, 1963.
Okay, I mean that changes it a little bit, I guess. I mean, the Grizzlies had like 20 years in the late 70s through the 80s. Where they didn't go to the tournament. I don't know who went, if Weber State was just racking them up at that time. Certainly recently, Montana has gone a lot more than Weber State has. I tend to think it's the Grizzlies here. I really do. But again, I'm not 100%. I don't know this for a fact, Tim, okay?
Well, I remember back in the day, I think Weber State had a coach by the name of Neil McCarthy. I think. That when I first came to go to school here, that was really good. But I'm going to go with Montana.
Man,
this is a.
What are you doing to me, Coulter?
I shouldn't say it's a trick question because it's a cut and dry question. Weber State has been to the tournament 21 times. Excuse me, they've won 21 regular season conference titles. They've gone to the NCAA tournament 16 times. Montana actually surprisingly has won 11 conference titles, so 10 full less regular season conference titles, but has gone to the NCAA tournament 13 times. So Weber State has gone 3 more times, but
what a terrible
Weber State has only won the Big Sky Conference tournament 10 times, whereas Montana, every single one of their NCAA tournament appearances, except the first one, was after winning the Big Sky tournament. In 1975, when they went to the NCAA tournament, they didn't have the Big Sky tournament.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
All right. Question number 3 then, Coulter.
Question number 3. Name the Weber State head coach who is the all-time leader in wins in both overall as well as in conference play. So the all-time leader in Big Sky Conference history in overall wins and conference victories. Weber State head coach.
Did I just name him?
You did not just. I will give you a hint. You did not just name him.
Is it the current head coach, Coulter?
It is.
I think the current coach is Randy Ray.
It is.
I'll go with Randy Ray.
Ray is correct. In 14 seasons at the helm of Weber State, he's won over 250 games, and he's won more than 200 at Big Sky Conference play. Ray is correct. And
Way
Tim,
to sidestep a very, very bad lifeline and get yourself wings anyway, Tim. Doing it on your own strength. You don't need anybody else. These dopes on the radio don't know anything. Congratulations. Give your information to David there in the back. We'll get you set up with the wings to the Desperado, all right?
All right. Thanks, guys.
You got it. Great work. There you go. Just like that. Get himself some wings to the Desperado. Is that right? So 16-13, huh?
16-13, yes.
How many?
Weber State had an incredible run in the late 60s and early 70s.
Okay.
Like he mentioned, I mean, Dick Botta was there, and then Neil McCarthy was tremendous there. Neil McCarthy went 206 on 105, including 92 and 56 in Big Sky Conference play, so winning about 67% of his games.
When you go 2-1, W's to losses. You're getting it done.
So Weber State went to the NCAA tournament in 1968, 1969, 1970, 1971, 1972, 1973. So that is 6 consecutive times.
I feel less bad,
since the institution of the Big Sky Conference tournament in 1978. Weber State has been then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Montana's been 12 times.
When was the last time Weber State went?
2016.
2016 they were there?
Yep.
Okay.
That was when they had Jeremy Sangle and Joel Ballboy. And they beat the Grizz in the conference title game in Reno.
It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Okay, here's what we want to do. Okay, we're just giving it all away today. Okay, we got a bunch of tickets for you. We got several pairs of tickets for you to go see Korn and Breaking Benjamin on the 23rd of this month. This next Sunday at the Adams Center. We're going to give you a pair of tickets here in just a minute. Okay, so just hold tight over there. But Colter, in consideration for this show, this is interesting because I am your senior by about 8 years, 8, 9 years, something like that.
No, 6.
How old are you?
I'll be 33 in about 2 months.
Okay. So
and you just turned 39, right?
8 years. 7, 8 years. Which is the same amount, roughly.
But we're only like 6 years apart. We're only 6 years apart in high school years.
Mm-mm.
You graduated in 1999. I graduated 2005. 6 years.
Yeah, but you're smart. You were way ahead. Anyhow, you are like 9 years ahead of our buddy David Graff over here in the back. And so I
don't even know how old are you, Graff? Like 24? 25?
Turned 24 last Halloween.
24. Damn.
So
you're young.
The Korn lifeline. You talk about generations. Music generations are far shorter. They're like dog years.
So David, how old were you in 1998?
3. That was when my little sister was born.
3 years old when the new metal turn happens. And we know the bands that are involved in this whole thing, right?
Let's talk about this just for a second.
But, yeah, go ahead.
Because I think that the way that music evolved with the rise of mass media is so fascinating. You have rock and roll become a thing in the 50s, and the DJs are playing it, and Elvis is ruling the world, and then you have the British Invasion and the Beatles, and it's a fever pitch. And then in the 70s, I watched this, the CNN docuseries where it's about the decades, and they're just 45-minute deals. It's such great American history. It's so good.
Yeah.
But the one about music and television, the episode is fascinating, and they have this stat in there that record sales doubled movie sales, sports ticket sales, and one other factor of entertainment, I can't remember. But like the other 3 main factors of entertainment in America, all 3 of those combined, record sales were greater. That's how much people loved music and buying records.
Yes.
In the 80s, you have music videos. In the 90s, I thought it was so fascinating, though, how everybody wanted something different. And then when something different became mainstream, then it would be exposed ad nauseum. And then all of a sudden, that what was so big then became a parody of itself.
Yes.
First it was grunge, and then all of a sudden Pearl Jam went from icon to people are just making parodies of Eddie Vedder, making fun of him. You know what I mean? And grunge is not necessarily the best example because it actually resonated a lot longer. But there were so many different
disco
little trends in the 90s that happened.
It was in the 90s,
right?
I know.
But I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like gangster rap, and then that turned into like bad boy hip hop, and then all of a sudden Puff Daddy's the king, and then all of a sudden he's a joke. When the late 90s, when it turned, and all of a sudden there was like, for lack of a better way of describing it, pop metal. Like Limp Bizkit and Korn and all of these bands. Korn never really had the pop element. They just were popular because of other people like Kid Rock kicking down the door. But it was one of the funniest evolutions in music because then all of a sudden on TRL and MTV and stuff, you went from having Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera to these dudes that are just straight thrashers. And it was never even intended to be mainstream. And then all of a sudden it is. And guys like you are just raging and loving it.
Throwing myself into the masses.
I remember when Korn came out, when they had Freak on a Leash in the mid-90s, and that was like a epic animated music video.
Yeah.
It was like their first crossover breakthrough. And then they were going to release Issues, which is their biggest album. I think it was 1998, 1999. And at that time, that was at the height of when parental advisory stickers had to be put on the records.
Yep.
And I remember being like 13 years old, 7th grade, and wanting that album so bad. And my mom not going to buy it for me.
No chance.
No way. It's got like a doll with a knife in the side, like on the
she's
cover.
Listening now, I know that for sure, and she's horrified by what's transpiring in this very moment.
So I got my neighbor, who's older than me, he's about your age, to go down to the record shop in the mall and buy me 2 records. I remember I gave him 20 extra bucks. I was like, man, I need Dr. Dre, The Chronic 2001, and I need Korn Issues. And I got these things like smuggled to me, like bootleg style.
Yeah.
But it's an amazing album. And when we get the first news of every show that's coming to town, right?
Yeah.
Because of our association with the Trail and the U and the great music stations that we have here at Missoula Broadcasting Company. But this was probably the most surprised and surprisingly elated I was of any show that's coming to Missoula. Obviously, Pearl Jam was one of my favorite bands. So when they were going to play Washington Grizz, that's great.
Yeah.
But I just never thought in my life that Korn would come to Missoula.
Well, here's the thing. Korn and I think Rob Zombie played in Butte. I mean, maybe like 2 years ago, 3 maybe. I mean, they were around, and I was sort of, just disappointed myself for just not making the trip over there. But the other thing too is a lot of bands, regardless of the genre or whatever it is, they're 20 years in, it's greatest hits tours, or a lot of these bands are playing albums like the 20th anniversary of whatever record, and they're just going and playing that record all the way through for people and stuff like that. 13 studio albums for Korn, one in 2019 that they're actually touring this new record. And, I think it's pretty remarkable. And they've gone through many, iterations, and, Brian Head Welch left the band for a while, had a, literal come to Jesus like time, and still, is, and the whole thing. And so then he comes back and gets reintegrated into the group, and now they're making music again and doing the thing. And it's just pretty remarkable. I mean, for that stuff, this is like, look, man, when you're 5 kids from Bakersfield, California, doing whatever you do as a kid in Bakersfield, California, which you can imagine what that might have been, and all of a sudden you just start jamming, and then this guy starts growling like a dog, and your bass player is, just spanking this thing around, and you're off you go, and the next thing you know, you're, selling millions of CDs and touring around. Like, there's no way that's going to go that well, right? For a while, and yet here they are. And I mean, what you can read whatever histories you want to and think about whatever. Here's the interesting thing to me: even though it got massively popular,
right?
There's still a very big segment that are just horrified
Totally.
by this music or whatever. And a lot of times, things that people found sort of shocking at one stage. Like, I don't know that anybody finds Snoop Dogg shocking anymore. I mean, he's doing shows with Martha Stewart.
Right.
So, I don't know. You think about all these things, you put them all in there. But I think that there's still there's a very real edge and angst, and we can talk about this from an artistic standpoint or whatever, that I think, you delve into a certain musics, certain arts, certain whatever, that, resonate with people, don't resonate with others. People find it compelling. People find it revolting, whatever it is. But I think that I think it's worth the show. And speaking of, we'd be happy to send you right now. 329-1899. 329-1899. Pair of tickets to go see Korn and Breaking Benjamin, by the way, opening up for him. 329-1899. Got a pair of tickets for you right now to go to the show Sunday, February 23rd at the Adams Center, a week and a half from now. We'll take a quick break. Be back. Hour number 2, straight ahead.
Hi there. It's Les Schwab Alignment and Brakes and Shocks and Wheels and Tires. Some tire places don't offer all that, but we do to help keep you safe. It's our Les Schwab Founders Celebration. Get $50 off an alignment. That's nearly half off regular price when you purchase 4 Reputation or Open Range AT tires all month long. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952. Limited time offer while supplies last. Cannot be combined with other offers. Details at leschwab.com.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Hey, Gus, you ever heard of Magic Johnson?
Rings a bell.
One of the greatest basketball superstars of all time played for a man named Judd Heathcote at Michigan State. And guess what? Judd Heathcote started his career at the University of Montana.
Coulter, did you know that 2 former University of Montana head coaches have been head coaches in the NBA and 1 on Team USA?
Isn't that amazing?
And that's why we've created Grizz Greats, the Coaching Tree podcast. Get it wherever you get your podcast. Just search Grizz Greats.
It's a phenomenal and historic podcast series proudly presented by Blackfoot Communications and Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate. Ryan, do you remember TRL?
Total Request Live. Wouldn't miss it.
Do you remember the moment in American history where it shifted that heavy metal became pop music?
Yes, I do. I was on the forefront of that choice.
As was Korn. And guess what? 20 years later, Korn is coming to Missoula.
The thing I like about Korn is that it's not merely nostalgia. They've reinvented themselves time and again, have just put out yet another new record. Prolific band and managed to maintain relevance over multiple decades, which most cannot say.
You and I will both be attending the Korn concert, and we're going to hook up a bunch of you as well. Tune in to Two Tell Nuanez 4 to 6 every single weekday for your chance to win a pair of tickets to Korn at the Adams Center on Sunday, February 23rd.
If you are hurt or disabled, you may be entitled to benefits from an insurance company or Social Security. I'm Chris Helmer, an attorney at Clark Fork Law Offices. Our Missoula firm specializes in worker compensation, personal injury, and Social Security disability. There are many unknowns when injured or disabled. The other side is fighting hard. You should too. Call Clark Fork Law at 728-0168 for a free consultation or visit clarkforklaw.com. Again, 728-0168.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon. Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez. Here's some sports news for you. Shakeups this week in the prep basketball polls on the girls' side, while the boys' side seems to remain, well, about the same. On the girls' side, 3-time defending Class AA champion Helena High has had an up-and-down campaign this year. They're 6-7, but they posted a 38-37 win over the number 2 Missoula Hellgate Knights this past week to move to number 5 in this week's prep basketball poll conducted by 406mtsports.com. Hellgate, in turn, though, after the loss, bounced back by handing top-ranked Helena High its first loss of the season, and because of that win, Helena over Hellgate and then Hellgate over Capital. Capital still remain number 1, and Hellgate remains number 2. The Bengals are number 5. Missoula Sentinel, they're number 3. And Thursday, they take on Helena Capital in Missoula. And then on Saturday, they get Billings West. Billings West is 4th this week in the poll. In Class B, by the way, Loyola Sacred Heart, they're 16-0. They're on top of the standings in Class B.
The Hellgate boys remain atop the boys poll with a perfect 13-0 record. The Knights have been untouchable behind the stellar play of Utah State signee Roller Rooster. And the rest of Class AA, they include top 5 rankings include Billings West number 2, Helena Capital 3rd, Missoula Sentinel 4th, Billings Skyview 5th. Capital plays at Sentinel Saturday, while Skyview plays at West Thursday. And finally, the top-ranked Hardin boys takes on the top-ranked Class B team.
ESPN Sports Center is presented by Clark Fork Law.
Which Class B team, Coulter?
Now from the Kurtz Polaris studio, here is Ryan Tutel.
Hardin, 16-0, takes on Lodge Grass.
Gotcha.
On Thursday. That's number 1 in Class A versus number 1 in Class B. I want to see that one. That would be...
famous left hand?
I mean, last time they played, it was 112-97. Do you have any idea how ridiculous that is for a 32-minute basketball game?
That seems like fun. It seems like
a competition of layup lines.
Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Hour number 2 coming at you. Appreciate you being here. We're happy to be with you. We are broadcasting live, as always, across the state on SWX Montana Television and across Western Montana on ESPN Radio and by the power of the internet over the whole globe. 1029ESPN.com. You go there. You can listen live on the stream. It's brought to us by Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. If you'd like to pick up your phone and call, you can do that as well. 329-1899, 329-1899, the phone number. All guests join us via the Raggich Brothers RV phone line. And here's what we would like to do. We want you to call right now. 329-1899, because we got another Wing It Wednesday for you. Tyler Emmert, who is our ESPN Roundtable, going to join us in about 10 minutes from now. And so we will do some more Desperado Wings with you if you would like to do it right now. 329-1899, the phone number. I got 3 questions. We're doing a potpourri today, boys and girls, in terms of the questions, where they're coming from, where they're going. Also want to remind everybody in this second hour, $50 to Kindred Skin and Soul. We're giving it away for all the lovebirds or just people who just would like to have a nice facial and massage from the good folks down at Kindred Skin and Soul downtown at the salon there. $50 will be giving that away here in this second hour. If you missed anything in the first hour of the show, check it out on the podcast. The Tutel Nuanez podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts. It's available all the time, and it is there thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel and Blackfoot Communications. Also want to remind everybody, Episode 5 of Grizz Greats, the Coaching Tree podcast, is also out right now. It is available. And this one with Dawn Holst. And we're very excited to release this episode. A very interesting and pivotal time, a bit of a controversial time in Grizzly men's basketball in some respects, but also with the passage of time to look back at it. I think a very compelling episode out now. So wherever you get your podcast, just search Grizz Greats. And you get the Grizz Greats podcast, episode 5, available there. So 329-1899, if you'd like to do a little Wing It Wednesday with us, you can as well. By the way, Tyler Emmert, who's going to be coming up with us here, Coulter, for the roundtable. Again, for people who may not know or recognize the name, he was just inducted. The reason we're doing this today is just inducted into the MHSA High School Hall of Fame, one of 7 members in the High School Hall of Fame. And like many who were elite athletes in high school in the state of Montana, went on to be elite athletes in college. And he went to Helena Capital and then played and stayed in Helena, and didn't have to, by the way. He had options to go to the Grizz, wherever. Stayed in Carroll College and won 4 straight natties as the quarterback of the Carroll College State. So very, very impressive. Looking forward to talking to him. And I'll tell you what, you want to talk about winners? Tyler Emmert. You can't be better than that when you talk about quarterbacks. We go to the phone now. We welcome in Joe to the show. Joe, how are you?
Great. Doing well today.
Well,
been out of the sports news scene for a bit, so I might need somebody's lifeline here.
Well,
but
you know,
to me.
Joe, here's the deal. I got good news for you on that front. It's a little bit of a potpourri today. I got 2 sports questions for you and a quasi-geography question, okay? So we'll see.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we'll see what we could do on this thing for you here today.
Let's see what we can do.
All right.
Go for it.
We got 3 questions for you. You only need to get 2. If you get all 3, you get a shirt. If you need help, Coulter's your lifeline. All right, Joe?
Boy, some chicken wings really hit the spot.
Tell me likey. Tell me what wingy.
All right, here we go, Joe. Question number 1. This is a current events question from the Big Sky Conference in basketball. Right now, as it stands, in the conference rankings, or conference, I guess I should say, standings, in the regular season for Big Sky basketball, tell me the top team for the men's and women's Big Sky Conference right now.
That'd be Montana's type of things. One over on the other side of the valley and one right here at home.
You got it. Montana State is the top team in the women's side, and the Grizzlies are the top team by just a half game on the men's side playing tomorrow. So very well done. Excellent work, Joe. Question number 1 in the bag. Here you go. Question number 2, professional current events. What Cleveland Brown defensive end was just reinstated today by the NFL after having an indefinite suspension lifted?
Well, come on, Colton. I'm counting on you.
Coulter, what do you got, my man? Can you help out Joe here a little bit?
Myles Garrett. from the Cleveland Browns. You said Cleveland Brown did.
It is.
Myles Garrett.
It is a Brown. He says Myles Garrett. Joe, do you buy that?
Thank you, Coulter. I appreciate your help. Yes, I'm going to accept.
You have made a wise choice. Unlike me earlier, Coulter, in fact, has helped this person with the lifeline, and it is Myles Garrett. Ultimately served 6 games for his helmet swing at who was it?
Yeah,
Mason
that was
Rudolph.
That thing.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I should have remembered that
Yep.
name. Oh, I remember the incident now.
So
Okay.
there you go. There you go. So there you go. You got wings to the Desperado. Congratulations, Joe. Here we go. A little geography for you on for the shirt.
Okay.
The Czech Republic is actually no longer the Czech Republic. People
This
are not
is real,
necessarily
huh?
aware. This is real. This is real. They have a new name for the country that is now formally known as the Czech Republic, and I'm still trying to find out exactly the timeline on this thing. If this is if this has already been put into place or if it's going to be, but it sounds like it is. Do you know what the new name for the Czech Republic is, Joe?
Let me think about it. The Czech Republic. This just happened, you say?
Well, it's been an ongoing deal. It sounds like they had like a contest of some sort, like North Dakota and what the new name of the club should be. I don't exactly know how they came about it, but yes, this is relatively new.
No, and I guess there's no shirt today, and I feel fine with that. I'll be happy with the wings. I have no clue. I mean, how if they're calling us something new, the whole thing when it divided up. Way back when all the communist thing broke up and stuff, Slovenia.
That's
and,
right. Yeah.
Albania, all these other little.
The Eastern Bloc countries all got separated out, didn't they? Well, you're fine. Yeah. You've gotten the wings. The answer is now. I'll say that for us American English speakers, when we read this, you're certainly going to want to say Czechia. Evidently, it is technically Czechia. It's a hard, the CH in the middle is actually a K sound. So Czechia is now the new name of the country. Now,
I'm supposed to say now. No, I think you're right. I had heard about the earlier bad pronunciation. I had heard that word before. But thanks for educating me today, guys. Thanks for the wings.
You got it, Joe.
Your show.
Appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for calling in. Give your information to David. Make sure we get those wings to you, all right? There you go. Joe, off and running. Czechia, how do you like? Now, I don't think anything's changed with the country itself. It's not like it hadn't changed form or hadn't been lost or gained a territory, just name change. I care, though, because I'm a quarter Czech. Now I'm a quarter Czechian. We'll take a break. Roundtable next.
Romance your Valentine at the Montana Club with our 4-course Lover's Delight for 2, featuring Parmesan-crusted artichoke hearts, succulent king crab legs, perfectly grilled Angus steaks, and a grilled lobster tail, followed by our luscious vanilla bean cake with fresh raspberries. Just one of the mouth-watering options to be savored on our special Valentine menu, served February 13th through the 16th at the Montana Club. See the full menu at montanaclub.com on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Alignment and Brakes and Shocks and Wheels and Tires. Some tire places don't offer all that, but we do to help keep you safe. It's our Les Schwab Founders Celebration. Get $50 off an alignment. That's nearly half off regular price when you purchase 4 Reputation or Open Range AT tires all month long. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952. Limited time offer while supplies last. Cannot be combined with other offers. Details at leschwab.com.
In Western Montana, we know shopping local matters, and you may think you'd pay more for the quality and customer service that comes with it, but not at Selway Armory. Selway Armory is locally owned with knowledgeable specialists that can answer your questions. In addition to the expertise, though, Selway Armory also has a bigger selection and lower prices than the box stores. When you're in the market for firearms and accessories, save money with the experts at Selway Armory. Selway Armory, 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6, and online at selwayarmory.com. Hey boys and girls, Ryan Tutel and Colton Nuanez here, and hope you know by now that Grizz Greats, the Coaching Tree podcast series is out and available wherever you get your podcasts. Interviews with every single one of the living University of Montana head men's basketball coaches. We are releasing week by week, and this week, Colter, one of our favorites, Blaine Taylor.
Native son of the Garden City, a star basketball player at Missoula Hellgate, a star in his own right for the Montana Grizzlies as a player and the head coach for the duration, or almost the duration, of the 1990s. Blaine Taylor definitely one of the most well-liked and memorable members of this epic coaching tree.
Just search Grizz Greats wherever you get your podcasts and listen to all 3 episodes that are out now with the first 3 coaches and the bonus episodes accompanying them, and now episode 4 with Blaine Taylor. Grizz Greats, the Coaching Tree podcast, is brought to us by Blackfoot Communications, the company that connects you more, the Bryan brothers and Mike Nugent at Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate, and Stockman's Bar, proud supporters of Montana basketball for 50 years.
Your favorite place in the world besides Montana is Seattle, right, Gus?
That's right. The only thing I've been missing since I moved back to Montana, teriyaki on every street corner.
Well, if you want real Seattle-style teriyaki, you got to hit up Dobie's Teriyaki downtown. And if you need a reason to try it, Tutel Nuanez, we got you covered. We're going to be giving away free Dobie's Teriyaki every single day the first 2 weeks of February on Tutel Nuanez.
Does the philanthropy no end?
We are very good to our listeners. So tune in to Tutel Nuanez 4 to 6 every day, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good evening. Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez. Here's some high school basketball news for you. Shakeups on the girls' side of high school hoops in the state of Montana, while the boys remains pretty static. 3-time defending Class AA girls state champion Helena High has had an up-and-down year this so far, but the 6-7 Bengals posted a 38-37 win over number 2 Missoula Hellgate last week to move to number 5 in this week's prep basketball poll conducted by 406mtsports.com. In turn, however, Hellgate bounced back from that loss and handed top-ranked Helena Capital its first loss of the season. Because of Helena's win over Hellgate, Capital remained at number 1 in this week's poll, while Hellgate held firm at number 2, but the Bengals go up to number 5 as mentioned. They will host number 3 Missoula Sentinel on Thursday, and then Capital plays Sentinel on Saturday. Billings West, by the way, 4th in the poll. In Class B, the Loyola Sacred Heart Breakers, they're on top of the polls. They are 16-0 this year.
The Hellgate boys remain atop the Class AA boys poll with their 13-0 record. The Knights have been untouchable behind the stellar play of Utah State signee Raleigh Wooster. The rest of Class AA rankings include West at 2, Capital at 3, Sentinel at 4, and Skyview at 5. Capital plays at Sentinel Saturday, while Skyview plays at West. In Class A action, Hardin's number 1. They take on number 1 Class B Lodgegrass Thursday.
You know, just for clarification's sake, the name Czech Republic didn't change to Czechia. It has now expanded to include Czechia as the shortened version. Okay? Just so we're clear. Czech Republic is still valid. It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Very important and pertinent world affairs that we're trying to get to here on this show. Coulter, you know what I mean? Try and keep the people informed, abreast of what's going on in the wider world. And that's why we do things like this. It's time for the ESPN Roundtable, and happy to welcome in on the Regish Brothers RV phone line a guy who basically has never lost anything he's ever done, which must be a nice life to live. Tyler Emmert joining us, former Carroll College quarterback as well as Helena Capital quarterback, and just inducted this week, announced to the MHSA High School Hall of Fame. Tyler, thanks so much for being with us, man. How are you?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm doing good.
Well, we're certainly happy to have you on, and I would think you're doing good. That's a very a great distinction, a great honor to have been named this year one of 7 to be in the MHSA Hall of Fame. Tell me about this. How did you find out about this? Did you even know this like existed, and how did they get? Is there somebody knocking on your hotel room door like they do for the NFL Hall of Fame? How did this go?
Well, I got a phone call and then an email that kind of gave me a heads up and laid out kind of how it works. That's probably a couple weeks ago.
And when you found out that you had been selected to be on this, what was your reaction to that? What do you think about that?
I was pretty excited. They shared with me the list of guys that were on there, which was really cool. A lot of those guys are way more deserving. QBs we get the blame sometimes when you don't, but you get way more credit than you deserve. You play on really good teams, and then obviously you're going to have good stats if you're the quarterback. So I think it's just pretty cool, but more representation of those programs and teams I got to be a part of.
Tyler, hey, it's Colter Nuanez. I was the one that originally reached out to you. Thanks so much for joining us on this ESPN Roundtable. Really happy to have you. One thing that I've talked about with guys around the state is there's distinct attitudes, especially winning attitudes, from certain towns in Montana. And Helena has produced as many winners, as many great athletes as any town in the state of Montana over the years. And at the time that you were coming up in Helena Capital under Mark Sampson, the dominant Class AA football program. You yourself won a pair of state championships, 24-0 as a starting quarterback for the Bruins. And then at Carroll College, the winning was unprecedented under Coach Van Diest. So, what about Helena, especially Helena Capital specifically, and those years at Carroll, and just all the way around, just the winning that was happening in the capital city? Why? Well, why does Helena produce so many winners over the years?
Well, there's kind of a common tie there with the Sampson, Petrino, Carroll. There's a pretty common tie there, and it was more a team. There's a pretty focused team approach to football. Some of those other sports, basketball, you got 2 or 3 players, you can make a run at it. Football, you got to build a program. You got to have a whole bunch of kids in there, kind of thinking the same way, doing the right things, putting it together, and you start young. I think the small fry program in Helena was a phenomenal program for a lot of years, and we ran the same stuff starting in 4th grade that we ran when we were in high school. So same language, same concept. So it was pretty neat, but the infrastructure was in Helena, kind of a result of that whole Petrino. Sampson was obviously an offensive coordinator there when Petrino was there. So it was kind of neat.
Tyler Emmert joining us. He is the subject of our ESPN Roundtable presented by Paradise Falls and was just selected to the MHSA Hall of Fame, one of 7 inductees this season. Talk to us about, before we get into your time at Carroll College, your time at Helena Capital, and you talked about the coaches and that kind of being the common thread and what it means to have really played maybe 20 years of the same sort of football, or at least 15 from a young guy, a little kid all the way up through and having that sort of consistency. But when you got into high school and that those Capital teams were so good, what was great about being on those teams and I think 24-0, right? Your last 2 seasons.
Yeah, we were loaded my junior year.
Mm-hmm.
As far as playing quarterback, as long as you didn't mess it up, you were going to win those games.
Right.
And then we were a good team my senior year. And so, but then also you talked about the coaches, some of the common coaches. Dick McMahon was my freshman coach. He's still coaching football at Capital High School. And there's a lot of coaches around there that some of them you saw in small fry, some they're in administration, some they're still around. There's a lot of people around Helena that have been part of football, coaching football for a long period of time, and they're just good people that like the game and they put their time into it. So that capital coaching is it's a career thing for a lot of those guys.
Take us back to that junior year. Who did you play with? Remind us of some of the guys you played with. Did you probably cross paths with? Were you around with when Greg Carruthers was around?
Carruthers was a senior. That defense was really salty. Carruthers was a senior. Nick Kuntz was the other safety. Kyle Scarr, who I played baseball with, he was one of the corners. Then McIntyre and Knoll, they went and played linebacker for the Grizzlies.
Yep.
Jake Eldridge was there. He played up at Northern a little bit. Donnie Staysbury, he went out to D2 school in Missouri, I think. And then, like Dan Mazurek, I played with him at Carroll, played with him at Capital. And then, just a whole bunch of players in there. Probably forgetting a couple even. Kevin McCutcheon, he went to the Grizzlies and played with him at Carroll.
And Tyler, when you went through and you got all these teammates who were going to play for the Cats, for the Grizz, whoever it might be, how much interest did you garner as a quarterback to go to either Missoula or Bozeman or elsewhere beyond that? Ultimately, you decided to stay in Helena, but what other options did you have and did you consider coming out of high school?
I didn't really have any other options. I would have walked on for the Cats or the Grizzlies if they'd have let me walk on, but both programs were kind of like, I don't know if you're a fit for us. So
well, and both programs had pretty great quarterbacks at that particular moment, right? I mean, timing is a lot of this too, right?
Well, I think Lule would have been my age at the Cats, right?
Exactly.
And he had a phenomenal career, so they might have had a better pick there, might have had better options. And then when Lions and tried out, I didn't make it. Dickinson was the quarterback up there, So I don't know how far behind him I was at Capital in relation to the Grizzlies, but yeah, and then John Edwards.
John Edwards,
I
right?
think I was a sophomore. Right. His senior year, I remember going down to Billings. He gave us a good whooping my sophomore year to end our season. So he was at the Grizzlies. So yeah, they had good quarterbacks.
Carroll College, then, when you made the decision to go there, was there any apprehension about staying in your hometown, or what was the selling point that landed you with the Saints? And I mean, there already had been such great tradition, but you were then a part of the rise to unprecedented success there. So, I mean, what sold you on Carroll College, and what was that like playing in your hometown?
Well, a big part of it was the recruiting class that was going in that year, and Coach Van Diest was working hard, and Coach Howlett was working hard at bringing some kids in, and they had a lot of momentum going in the right direction. They had a new stadium they were building. You know, the facilities thing was going on. Staying in Helena didn't bother me a bit. I like Helena. I've been here my whole life, so that didn't bother me a bit. And I was excited to go there. I was excited to play at Carroll, and I think we had a good run.
Well, you didn't have a good run, okay? You had the greatest run that you could possibly have. I mean, you won 4 straight national championships, for crying out loud, Tyler. I mean, it's truly. I mean, you could talk all day about any of these schools. Show me another team that's done that. Maybe there's been a couple, D3 schools, I guess, Whitewater, St. John's, whoever, that have been great like that. But, I mean, you land on the cover of Sports Illustrated, for crying out loud. I mean, that's different. That's at a level that just doesn't happen. Why was it able to tap in Helena, Montana, of all places?
Well, sometimes you got to get a little lucky. I mean, there's a little luck in there. And then also, some of those teams were really good. Like the 03 team was just really, really talented. 05 was really, really talented. 02 was really talented. 04, we had to catch a couple breaks. We needed a few breaks coming down the stretch and got them. We kind of snuck in the back door to get into the playoffs, and then were able to survive our way through. But, if you were running like Division I BCS, where the top 4 teams get in, we don't get in the top 4 in 2004. So there's something to be said for getting in the playoffs and then getting to take a run at it. But yeah, they were all 4. They're different teams. They were distinct personalities and people who were playing, and they were all different. And you kind of all had to come together and catch some breaks and just, I guess you got a little lucky, right?
The other reason we wanted to reach out to you is because Mike Van Diest was on the news this week. He's coming out of retirement. He's going to go coach at the University of Mary. I no need to really talk about that element of it, but it just brought Mike Van Diest back to the forefront of our minds because he himself was so amazing at Carroll. 20 years as the head coach there, over 200 wins, 103 games over 500 in conference play. I mean, multiple-time coach of the year, 14 conference titles, the whole thing. I mean, his resume is peerless, honestly. But Coach Van Diest, I mean, what sort of influence has he had on your life, and what do you remember about just the style of coaching and what was it like playing for him?
Yeah, no, I went to lunch with him the other day. He's excited to be heading out to Mary. Football's his thing. That's what he does. I mean, it's faith, family, football for him. And obviously faith and family are important, and they're going to be there. But when he was retiring, I can't see him doing anything other than football. It's what he loves. It's what he does. It's who he is. So I'm excited he's going to get back into it, take a run at it. But we had consistent coaches in college are hard. And we had consistent coaches for a long period of time there with Nick Howlett and Jim Hogan, and some of the assistants would stay there in long stretches. But, those 2 coaches who ran the offensive side of the ball, they were there 20-some years, just like Coach Van Diest, and that's pretty rare for college. And that, kind of had a big part to do with a lot of the success that I was able to be a part of, and the success that Coach Van Diest had. It was a good staff that was able to stay together and work together, and Coach Van Diest he's an intense guy. You always knew where you stood with him. He didn't hold anything back. That was awesome.
It's so interesting with the different dynamics that are at a place like an NAIA school compared to even an FCS Division I school when it comes to football and recruiting, and there's no scholarships for athletics and all of that kind of thing. So how at a high academic institution like Carroll College can a guy like Mike Van Diest, who is obviously very invested in football, great as a football coach, continue to find the people, the kids, to come and play for him and do the things that you have to do to be great at football. Because you're not even getting a scholarship to be on the football team. You're just doing it because you enjoy playing, presumably, and maybe that's the key. But what is it that's unique to you about the sort of NAIA experience when it comes to athletics?
Well, D3 is non-scholarship. NAIA, I believe, is 24 scholarships. So you have some, but you never have enough to give a kid like a full ride. So you're looking for kids that can get some academic money, and then you can do some athletic money, and then usually they're paying some money. But you got to find kids that love football. And I think one of the benefits for Carroll for sure is that they were in Helena. There's kids in Helena that love football, and so that was a big piece of it. And then people in Montana love football. So if you find these kids, even if maybe a school is a better fit academically, if they love the program and they want to play football and it's a big part of who they are, you can bring them in and they can have a great experience at something like that. So Carroll was just in a good spot at a good time there with Montana and the type of people around Montana, and Helena, the type of people around Helena. And so if you wanted to play football, that was an opportunity for you.
They say the hardest thing to do in sports is to repeat as champion, but then if you take it up one notch and you three-peat, that's nearly impossible at all levels of sports. It's only happened a couple of times. We were just talking about the Helena High girls earlier in the show. I think they're the third team ever to three-peat Class AA girls basketball. But Carroll College, when you were there, Tyler, all of a sudden now going into your senior year, you guys are the three-time reigning champions, and you're still able to put it all together, go undefeated, and win a fourth straight title. What do you remember just about the pressure that came with chasing that fourth straight title? And what did that feel like actually doing something that's just incredibly rare across all levels of sports?
Well, each year was its own year, and we approached it that way. We didn't approach it like the next year. Like anything you did prior, it doesn't really matter. You're looking at your next game. And so you just approach each year like it's its own year, and you always had different teams and different personalities, and you kind of had to come together and figure it out. And, I don't know that any prior thing necessarily changed your focus on the next year, nor that it should. But there was also some. I mean, look, Kyle Baker played center for all 4 years of those national championships. When you have the same kid at center for 4 years, by the time you get to that point, he's taking care of protection. You can listen to the calls. You know what he's got going on. Sometimes you can change it a little if you want to, but he's got it handled. And so, you get some of those benefits with players that you played with for that many years. It's a real benefit. And I think that happens more in the NAIA than it does in the FCS, where you get kids that are together for that many years playing together. So that, I'd say it makes it a little easier maybe at that level of football to try to win a fourth than it does maybe some of those higher levels of football. But Coach Peterson over at Helena High, that's a great run he had with those 3 state titles. Obviously, Pickens was a big part of that. Phenomenal basketball player. I used to take, when she was still playing at Helena High, I'd take my girls over to watch her play in Camden Hillborn and the Osfed twins. But they played together for a long period of time, and I think when you can have some success young in a program, that opportunity to win multiple championships is there.
Also, you're not fumbling snaps. Because this is where my hand's got to be. The ball's going to make it to me now if I got it here with my guy that I've been with for 4 years, right, Tyler?
If you're fumbling snaps, you got some problems. You got to figure that one out. That's
sure. Right. Tyler Emmert joining us. He's just been inducted to the MHSA High School Hall of Fame. 80-3. Career record combined, high school and college at Carroll College in Helena and Helena Capital as well. If you would indulge us, do you have a memory or two that stick out for you from your time, whether it was at Helena Capital or at Carroll College, when you look back, from this point that go, wow, that was cool, that was fun, whether it was on the field, off the field, whatever it might be?
Well, I can tell you for sure, I remember those 3 losses pretty well.
Yeah. Who were they to? Who felled the great Carroll College Saints?
Well, Central Washington beat us 7-6. That was my freshman year, and if all 3 of those losses we could have won if I had just taken care of my job. We totally could have won that game. They had some really good players on defense. They were extremely athletic, and really to keep it 7-6 was kind of a win for us. They were quite a bit more athletic than we were. And then we dropped back-to-back games in 2004 to at Tech, totally could have won that game. And then at Western was here in Helena, we totally could have won that game. I think both of those ended on interceptions. So if I had just thrown it to our team, we would have won those two. I hadn't thrown it to their team. But no, you remember the wins, and but more than anything, you kind of remember some of the stuff you did with your friends off the field. And obviously, college sports, your friends off the field are a lot of them are guys you were playing with. So you remember a lot of those experiences.
What are you up to now? Are you still living in Helena? It sounds as if you are, that you're watching the Helena High girls and having lunch with Coach Van D. So are you still in the capital city?
Yeah, the longest I've been out of Helena my whole life is like 3.5 weeks. So I'm still here. I'm a banker at Opportunity Bank. I did coach at Carroll for a long time there. I haven't coached the last 3 or 4 years. And so now I think my primary job is to get my kids to their practices and then try to get as many of the dishes and laundry done as I can.
It just never ends. I feel you on this. It's just a constant wave of clothes.
It is. It is a constant wave of clothes. So no homework, but now I got laundry.
Speaking of your time coaching at Carroll, after the four-peat, then the next year is a run to the quarterfinals. But then I think that with the playoff loss, people thought maybe, okay, Carroll's still really good, but maybe the national titles will end. But then come in 2007, win another national championship. Then the next couple years, get to the championship, lose, semifinals, lose, but never really slid back. And then another national title in 2010. So even if you can be the team that four-peats, then falling back and then reascending to the top of the mountain is impossible. It seems like it's impossible, but you guys still were able to do it. How?
Yeah, no, we were close there every year for a long period of time. One of the things, I wish I was a more mature coach when we had John Barnett. I was a young coach, and you learn more as you're around. I would have really appreciated him more as a quarterback if I had been just a little bit older. Man, he was a tough kid and a good player. And then Gary Wagner was the quarterback when we went down to, I think that one was in Georgia, won that national championship, and he was just a fun guy to be around, such a fun quarterback to be around. But we had a whole string of QBs in there that were phenomenal, and we were in the mix every year, which wasn't that. It was the same as the prior 4 years that we had won. He just didn't catch a couple breaks down the stretch. So yeah, there was a stretch there, 8, 9, 10 years where we were right in the mix every year, and just needed to get a few breaks as you're heading down the backstretch. Everybody's so good at that point. It kind of comes down to play here or play there.
Well, Tyler, I'll tell you what, we really appreciate the time. Congratulations on the Hall of Fame induction to the MHSA, and thanks for revisiting as prolific a stretch of football as it seems like it's possible to have. Tyler Emmert, our ESPN Roundtable guest. Tyler, thank you.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Very happy to have you on. And the best to getting the kids to their practices and the dishes done and their laundry done. I don't know that there is. That's the issue. We talk about it as being done. It's just there's no such thing. Just the next one. That's the way it goes. But Tyler Emmert, subject of our ESPN Roundtable. It is presented, Coulter, by our friends at Paradise Falls. Paradise Falls, 3621 Brooks Street, near the corner of Reserve, South Reserve, and Brooks in Missoula. And this Friday, Valentine's Day, very special day at Paradise Falls.
How's this sound? This is a great special. This is only one day. It's only Valentine's Day.
Only on Friday.
Only on Friday. Savory prime rib with mashed roasted garlic. It's mashed in the roasted garlic, so they rub it on the prime rib. Fresh thyme, rosemary, black pepper, and kosher salt, served with twice-baked potato, au jus horseradish, and a side salad and a dinner roll. 12 ounces for $21.95, or the big 16-ounce bad boy, $24.95. Then you get yourself some dessert as well, the decadent brown butter cake topped with strawberry sauce and a dusting of powdered sugar. Sounds like a pretty good spot.
Let me tell you something. Now, this is just me, okay? If you got a date for Valentine's Day, this sounds fantastic. If you don't, this sounds fantastic.
Go by yourself.
I mean, are you kidding me? Just let me pony up to the table.
Emily's listening right now.
That's right.
Grab wants to take his lady friend to get some prime rib. Get yourself the 16-ouncer grab. I love it. Paradise Falls, even if you don't go there on Valentine's Day, your go-to spot for watching all things Grizz athletics and otherwise. They have great streaming that can be played on all 30 of their big screen TVs, 16 draft beers, 18 draft beers, in fact, not 16. I can't sell them short. And one of the best late happy hours in town, 3621 Brook Street in Missoula, Paradise Falls, Missoula's coolest hotspot.
On the other side, we'll wrap up the show. We're going to give you $50 to Kindred Skin and Soul. Talk a little bit more sports. How about that? Tutel Nuanez, ESPN Radio.
Farmer State Bank is proud to share that our customer, Phillipsburg Brewing Company, has been crafting quality, handcrafted beer since 2012. Congratulations to Nolan and Kathy Smith and the entire team at Phillipsburg Brewing Company on their award-winning brews. The next time you see her, ask Kathy why she calls Farmer State Bank best bank ever. Farmer State Bank, helping businesses succeed since 1907. Member FDIC.
Hey, it's Coulter, and I'm here with Catherine from The Advocates. If you've been in a car accident or need help dealing with the insurance companies, you should give The Advocates a call. They can tell you if you have a case right over the phone.
That's right. It doesn't cost anything to call, and we'd be happy to talk to you and assess your situation. You don't want to have to deal with contacting the insurance companies and setting up a claim. We can do that for you. We take the hassle out of the process, so you can just focus on getting better.
There you go, folks. If you've been injured in an accident, give The Advocates a call, 406-640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. You deserve The Advocates.
College basketball madness is happening again, and there's only one place in town to catch all the games, the Desperado. Catch every buzzer beater, every Cinderella story, and every upset on the Despo's 32 TVs, while getting your fill of the best hot wings Missoula has to offer, of course. Bracket busted? The Despo's got you covered there too, with cold drinks by the pint or pitcher. The Despo is your headquarters for NCAA basketball, NHL, and NASCAR too. The Desperado Sports Tavern on South Russell, across from the Y.
Hey, folks, Grizz Greats, the Coaching Tree podcast has been a wonderful podcast series that we're happy to have been a part of, and it reaches its halfway point now. Episode 5 with Don Holst, available wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Grizz Greats in your favorite podcasting platform, and it will be there for you. And Coulter, our conversation with Don Holst, an intriguing and memorable one.
Every single one of these episodes has been entertaining, historical, funny, informative, but this one was the most revelatory. Don Holst talks in detail about his 4 years as the head coach of the University of Montana, his trip to the NCAA tournament in his final season, and his subsequent dismissal following that trip to the Big Dance. Fascinating to hear Don Holst's take on how it all went down about 20 years ago.
The Grizz Greats podcast series is brought to us by Blackfoot Communications, the company that connects you more. Mike Nugent and the Bryan team at Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate and Stockman's Bar on Front Street downtown, proud supporters of Montana basketball for more than 50 years.
Your favorite place in the world besides Montana is Seattle, right, Gus?
That's right. The only thing I've been missing since I moved back to Montana, teriyaki on every street corner.
Well, if you want real Seattle-style teriyaki, you got to hit up Dobie's Teriyaki downtown. And if you need a reason to try it, Tutel Nuanez, we got you covered. We're going to be giving away free Dobie's Teriyaki every single day the first 2 weeks of February on Tutel Nuanez.
Does the philanthropy no end?
We are very good to our listeners. So tune in to Tutel Nuanez 4 to 6 every day, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
If it matters to Missoula, it matters to us. Ryan Tutel and Coulter Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Don't look now, Coulter. Here come the Nuggets. It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. SWX Montana Television across the great state. Live for you on the stream, 1029ESPN.com, and available all the time on the podcast. The Tutel Nuanez podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Listen to it, rate it, review it, subscribe to it. The Tutel Nuanez podcast brought to us by Blackfoot Communications and the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. And also want to remind everybody, Don Holst, the subject of Grizz Greats, the Coaching Tree podcast, episode 5, his episode out now. So you can search Grizz Greats wherever you get your podcasts and listen to that along with the bonus episodes that are accompanying these and the previous 4 as well. Great stuff there to listen to. Coulter, before I get into this basketball stuff, we got to get into a little bit of Valentine's Day stuff.
Okay.
Boys and girls, this is your chance, okay? A gift for your loved one, a gift for yourself. However you want to do it, it's yours to do with, but I'm just saying Valentine's Day is Friday. $50 to Kindred Skin and Soul. Call right now, 329-1899, 329-1899. We got a $50 gift card for you on Front Street, near the corner of Front and Higgins, right next to the El Cazador there on the corner. And, Colter, you and I went down there. We got a facial. We did the thing. Went in there, laid on the table, put the hot steam on you, give you, the creams and the mask and the deal.
The
Beautiful.
Humidifier.
See, I'm not the right person, despite the fact that I'm married to a cosmetologist. I'm not the right person to talk about this stuff, but I can describe it, I think, aptly to people who might be listening to us, who probably have equally the lack of vocabulary to describe what it is that's going on. Here's what I'll say to you. It's nice. It's a
very
pleasant,
relaxing,
pleasurable experience to go in there and have a facial or whatever done to you, massage, however you want to do it. Anyway, $50 to Kindred Skin and Soul right now, 329-1899. Happy Valentine's Day.
It will be a great present for whoever you give it to, even if you do give it to yourself, but you should just give it to somebody else for Valentine's Day. And if you don't win, go down there and get one of these gift cards, because your romantic interest, no matter if it's a woman, a man, whatever it is you're into, they will enjoy it, I promise. $50 will get you a long ways down there, too. You can get a manicure, a pedicure, a facial, get whatever you might need.
By the way, they got it set up for side-by-side. You can go down there with your significant other, lay down, and the two of you just, relax together. So that is a very nice thing. So enjoy it. Our thanks to Kindred Skin and Soul for hooking it up this Valentine's Day.
They are all about the spiritual element of this, too. So the relaxation, the cleansing of the soul is a part of the experience. So if you're looking for something that is not only going to make you look great, but also ease some tensions, help you decompress.
This is remarkable. They cleansed my soul. I lost 22 pounds. Remarkable. Love it. Colter, the reason I'm bringing this up now, tonight on ESPN Radio, coming up in just under 2 hours from now, 7:30 pregame, and at 8 o'clock opening tip. The late night, the L.A. Lakers, LeBron James, Anthony Davis versus the Denver Nuggets, going to be for you here on ESPN Radio. And I don't think that a lot of people just who are casual, sports fans, maybe they're not all the way into the NBA, maybe they're still, coming out of football, getting into basketball, are aware of this. The Denver Nuggets are the number 2 team in the Western Conference right now.
Is that surprising? Yes. Wow, they were the 2 seed last year.
No.
Or they got the same roster.
It's the Denver Nuggets. Okay.
They were the 2 seed last year, and they got the same roster with Michael Porter Jr. actually giving them some good minutes.
By the way, Nikola Jokic.
And Jeremy Grant. Right, they traded for Jeremy Grant. Good call, Graf.
Graf, you're a big Nuggets guy, aren't you? Aren't you a Nuggets fan?
Love the Nuggets.
Okay.
Do you love the Joker?
Love Jokic.
Dude, I've spent a lot of time actually on this very show professing my love to Nikola Jokic. I'm married. I might take him to Kindred Skin and Soul on Friday for Valentine's Day. That's how much I love this man, okay? So he is great. But what I am saying to you is that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are now members of the Los Angeles Clippers, who are behind the Denver Nuggets. You can talk to me all day about whether it's a fit or whatever with Westbrook and Harden. It's Westbrook and Harden. They got nothing like the headliners in Denver.
Did Westbrook and Harden score 80 last night?
Yeah, they both. This is actually true. This is the first time in the history of the Houston Rockets that 2 teammates have scored 35 points or more in a regulation game.
What was the actual total? It was close to 80,
I think it was 36 and 41, I think, was right in there. Very close to 80 points.
77 or 78, yeah.
In a win, I might add. So all I'm saying is that, Porzingis and Doncic.
Harden had 42.
Was it 42?
Westbrook had 36.
So 78 total points. Wow.
But if you talk about the tandems and the names and the all-stars and all of that, I could give you 4 teams easily who would be, heck, McCollum and Lillard, right?
Sure.
In Portland.
Right.
So for them to be number 2, I'm just saying I don't think a lot of people would have been aware of that, whether it's surprising or not. You're going to tell me, no, nothing surprising. That's fine. But I'm telling you that, yeah, it's surprising.
I understand your premise, certainly. What the LeBron James All-Star break vacation has taught us and what has taught the rest of the league is that having the best record in the league not only hardly matters, but in a lot of cases is not just the best, but being in the top 4 helps you certainly because you're going to get home court. But sometimes chasing the 2 seed, if that's a little bit above your head, or the 1 seed, is detrimental to you because you're going to try to go win 60 games and you're going to be out of gas. Whereas if you just would have won 55 games and rested some guys and you're fresh for the playoffs, all it really matters is the playoffs, right? I mean, to me, in the NBA, when it comes down to the playoffs, it comes down to how do you perform in a 7-game series, and that's about your superstars. It's about your ability to not be exploited on defense. And that's why when you look at the Western Conference standings, to me, it does not matter where the Utah Jazz or the Denver Nuggets finish. They cannot win the West because of the liability that is their among best, and in Denver's case, best players' ability to guard the high pick and roll. If you are the Jazz or the Nuggets, when you play, no matter if it's the Blazers, in past years the Warriors, but that's not in the question this year, but the Blazers, the Lakers, the Clippers, what are they going to do to you? They're going to run high ball screen and isolate Rudy Gobert or the Joker over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Let me raise you this. The Jazz, the Nuggets, the Rockets, the Suns, any other team is not winning the West because they don't have Anthony Davis,
exactly,
LeBron James, or Kawhi Leonard.
Or Paul George. Exactly. Right. No, I 100% agree. We can talk about all the jockeying in the standings, and it is impressive that the Nuggets are number 2. But at the end of the day, it just doesn't really matter because when it all comes down to it, it's just going to be the 2 teams from LA.
What has more relevance, the NBA regular season or the Big Sky Conference regular season?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, you could say that about almost all the college hoops now, right? Because isn't almost every league in the country now doing every team in the league makes the tournament?
I mean,
yeah, that's true.
So, in other words, the college basketball season is irrelevant because all that matters is the tournament. But I get what you're saying, though, because on the Power 5 level, the regular season is more relevant because you're playing for seeding, and like getting 6th in the ACC tournament and losing a game, or losing after 1 game in the tournament, you're still probably going to get into the NCAA tournament, so it has a little bit more relevance. But
David, let me ask you this, okay? Because you're a big Nuggets fan, you're a big basketball guy, and you're a sports guy, okay? Jokic, he has done something that I don't think people are properly appreciating in the world. Because we see these transcendent players who change the game, say Steph Curry, right, who all of a sudden made the 3-point game the new game in the NBA, okay? And we see guys who, whether it's because of their fierce athleticism, whether their ability to do things athletically that we haven't seen before, or just how good they are at a particular skill or skills that have changed the game. I mean, James Harden's in that conversation as well. Jokic feels like the anti-hero of that very conversation and is nonetheless changing the game in a way that he's slow and lumbering to the eye when you're watching him play basketball, and yet is absolutely unstoppable in anything he does because his skills as just a basketball player, knowing where to go, where to move, where to make a pass, his ability to make a pass, not just a chest pass, a behind-the-back bounce pass to a spot, hit guys, make shots, do all that stuff. I've never seen it before in a body like his. Am I crazy about this, looking at him as a weird sort of anti-progression yet progression in the NBA?
I like how you called him an anti-hero because he really is. He is so ugly that it's beautiful.
It's right. He's a very Tuchelian in that respect.
It's the same way that Walter White in Breaking Bad, people root for him because he does things so cruel and so mean that you gotta love him. Jokic, I mean, it's just so ugly. And you're like, oh, my God, how is he getting up and down the floor?
Like, he looks like he can't really move, and the next thing you know, you look up, and he just does whatever he wants. He's like a submarine that just can't be, just goes wherever it wants to.
The best part is that he's known for his passing.
Yes.
But if you quit guarding him, he'll score 10 points in a row on you like that.
Yes. I mean, he's a great shooter. Like he just doesn't look like he's any of those things, so nobody believe it.
Right, but also I think it's so much of it is our analysis of athleticism through the lens of being American. Big, fast, strong, and ripped.
Right.
Because that's what the NBA and the NFL is, and we see these guys on full display.
But Doncic,
we don't account for spatial awareness.
Yes.
We don't account for pace. We don't account for oftentimes hidden strength.
No, we just like to see our athletes run up and down the floor without almost keeling over in a heart attack.
Right. But that's the thing is, to me, Jokic, I think everybody thinks like this guy's just a tubby fat guy. But he plays 35 minutes a game. So it's not as if his endurance is not up to par. It's just
it is. If you watch the Blazers series last year, they lost because he was so out of shape.
Well, right. Okay. But hear me out here. Jokic has a few elite pieces of athleticism that have nothing to do with how ripped your biceps and calves are. Jokic is unbelievably strong. He never gets knocked off the spot. A part of that is because he probably weighs 300 pounds, but he never gets knocked off the spot. He's got that Eastern European strength. His vision is absolutely elite, and his spatial awareness is the second best in the NBA behind who's the other guy who has not American-style athleticism who's dominating the league? Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
I mean, Doncic's article in Sports Illustrated last year was phenomenal. He said, he had a quote, he said, all you Americans only care about who's the fastest guy, who's got the best first step. He said, I got the slowest first step in the league, but I beat you off the dribble every time. Why? Because I get to whatever spot I want because I see it before you see it. It doesn't matter if you're fast. If you ever played ball, I mean, Kyrie Irving, is he that fast? Not really, right? Kyrie Irving gets by you because of the way he changes pace. That's Doncic, and that's also Jokic.
Yeah.
They lull you to sleep.
James Harden does some of that,
He
too.
does, but I think one of Jokic's biggest advantages is actually that he's slow.
Yeah. The people don't believe it.
You're a hyperactive defender. You're going to beat him to the spot. He doesn't care. You beat him to the spot. He's